Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's Adventures with Pep's Painting. We have a little 2000 AD Slaine model. Something a little bit different this week. It is Ukko the Dwarf. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm going with Ukko. Or Ukko the Dwarf. As you can see, it's primed white, and we're going to start off with the Crusader skin for all its fleshy areas. Now, Ukko is a dwarf who for many years has acted as a servant, companion, and official chronicler, and sometimes business manager for Slaine. He won him in a board game called Wooden Wisdom. Now, he is obsessed with money, cardinal gratification, and just being completely untrustworthy. But he is also Slaine's oldest friend. Ah, he's so cute. Right, he has this massive butt crack that, as you can see, I flooded it with wash because I wanted to make sure it definitely got shaded properly. But we're actually going to use that as my wet palette, which is quite comical. So as I'm doing his flesh, you're going to see me dipping the brush back in there, like that, just to move it around and catch and reload the brush to get more flesh color out. This is a tiny model. It's probably as big as my thumb tip. It's so small. It also didn't take long to paint. I think maybe in total 13 to 15 minutes. It's stupidly quick to paint him. But he's such a fun character. Now, I've mentioned it before, I've not really looked at the Slaine rulebook. I understand the basic concepts are very similar to Judge Dredd. It's a bit more close combat-y. We will at some point be going over the Slaine series and playing some games. But for now, I am just enjoying the art of painting these models. With Ukko done, that's all the, trying to think, good guy hero characters in the box set complete. We just have a couple of drones left to paint, and obviously to get them all based, and then that starter set is complete, and I'll go over that completely when that's all done, and maybe do the starter campaign so we can see how that looks. But drop me a comment, let me know if you want me to do a similar thing to the cadet guide to Judge Dredd. We could do something similar for Slaine. I think that could be fun. And then I also have tons of the box sets sitting here waiting to be painted. I've really fallen behind on the Slaine painting, so please expect plenty of them in the future. Got a load of stone sword people to do. We got all the sea demons left to paint. I only painted one so far. We've also got the cauldron of blood to get through, the wild animals. We've got Slaine as the king, I believe it's called, where he has his black leather armor. But there you go, we got the flesh done. That is actually the biggest part of this model, was the flesh tone. So getting that done out the way means we are pretty much a third of the way through the video already. And if my math is correct, we're about 3 minutes in. Up next is the dark wood. I am using this for the base. Obviously, we're trying to get some earthy tones on these guys. They're not going to be on concrete. So I'm just slapping this over the base. This really isn't an exciting step for anybody. So I'll just let you see the beginning aspect of it, and then we will skip on forward. Right, the base is now completed. It's nice and wet, which is wonderful. So we're going to have to try and avoid the boots for a little bit whilst the base dries up. And with that thought in my mind, we're going to move on to his undershirt. I'm using the Holy White for this. It's going to give it a kind of greyish off-white colour. I think that's going to look good. It's going to help pop. I'm very clear on how I want things to look on this model. I want his skull cap to be a green, his trousers are blue, his furry jacket a kind of sandy colour, and then hardened leather for his belt and shoes. So I'm pretty sure I know where I want this model to be. Hopefully it's going to work out. We'll find out together. But I'm just going to start working on these white areas. While I'm doing that, we can talk a bit more about the character. So Ukko the Dwarf claims to be immune to curses as a result of Slaine cursing him so many times. He has some extreme sneakiness, the picking of locks, and a silver tongue ability, which can come in handy. Having read the comics, I don't know if his silver tongue always works well for him. He seems to get beaten up a lot and chased away from people. And then obviously his weaknesses include wine, women and song, and gold. But you can forget the song. He is mostly in it for the gold, the wine and the women. He has been known to also ride a dragon now and again, and also a pig. I would love Warlord Games to give me a Ukko the Dwarf on a pig. Can we please make that happen? If you guys are watching it, I want one on a pig, please. I don't care how you do it. Just please make it for me. I think that would be amazing. The white is on. This will dry a lot lighter than it currently looks. And there's his butt crack for reference. It's so funny. I love it. Such a funny little character. Up next comes the Absolution Green. We're going to use that on his skull cap. Now, as mentioned, I fell behind on collecting this one to the point that there's now ABC Warriors coming out. So I really need to start pushing through on these collections. I also need to work out how I'm going to use them in Judge Dredd. Because ultimately Judge Dredd is my go-to game. It's the one I'm playing the most of. It's the pure reason for collecting all this is because of Judge Dredd. So I need to work out how I'm going to use them all. They're obviously going to be Cursed Earth denizens, I guess. Maybe I could have a weird little fantasy setting in the Cursed Earth that the judges come across for a hot dog run or something. And these guys are all chilling out there. I think using them to represent Mooties isn't out of the question, especially the Sea Demons. I think they would work great in my little setting. But yeah, I want to use these in Judge Dredd, I think. I'm going to have to work out how to do it. I'll get more use out of them that way. They're going to look weird because they got brown bases rather than concrete. But beyond that, they should be absolutely fine. This is a very fiddly stage. And you actually saw there that I spilt the green onto his forehead. So what I'm doing is I grabbed the flesh tone, washed over it. I actually used it to wash the green off the forehead for the most part. And then I also darkened his eyes down with it. It all cleans up at the end. But I thought I'd just mention, if you make an error, you can, if you're quick enough, wash it away, which is quite nice. It's a nice touch of these speed paints. We then grab the Cloudburst Blue, which we are going to be using on his trousers. And it's nice and simple. I'm going to start off where the belt is and just cleanly cut that in, and also find out where the top of the boots are. And then I can just fill it in. For some reason, my brush wasn't as loaded as I thought it was, and then I overload it. So we just carefully cut into where the belt is, work my way down to where the boot should be, work out where the next boot is, and just cut my way around everything. It's a nice simple step. This is going to dry quite nicely over the white and give him a nice pop of colour. Now we move on to his little mug. I'm going to use Runic Grey on the foam. But then I'm also going to mix in a bit of the Cloudburst Blue in there as well. I wasn't really sure how to do it. I was looking at pictures, the Warlord game show, and they kind of use a off-white creamy colour. It's obviously going to be beer in there, but I don't know. Did what I did. I don't know what I was thinking, but I've gone with it. Let's move on. And that stage is now the Sand Golem. This is a nice warm sandy colour. I'm using it on what seems to be like a fur vest. In my mind, I'm imagining this is kind of like some goat fleece type thing. Fleece? Do goats do fleeces? Goat fur, I guess. I'm really bad at this. I do apologise. Maybe I should have done my research beforehand. But I'm using that on this section of him. It's going to pick up the nice little rumpled effect. Like, you can already see it. I find this colour does flow well. It covers really well over the white. So we're just going to carefully work our way down. Trying to be as neat as possible, not mess up the white undershirt. Make sure we have a good coat over everything, working our way down to his butt crack. And there you go. Like I said, this is silly easy. We're now at 13 minutes and 15 seconds, give or take. And he's pretty much done. I've got a couple of colours. I got 2 colours left. And look at him. He's already taken shape. There was a little bit of pooling on his belly that I wasn't sure if I was going to clean up or leave it. I've ended up leaving it because I think it kind of looks like early stage liver spots, which I can only imagine this disgusting dwarf would have. He's an alcoholic. He's had a rough life. He's not the healthiest. He's been chasing women. He's been in many fights. He gets kicked and beaten up a lot, so he's going to have bruises and spots all over his belly and all over his face if we were to zoom in. So I'm just going to leave that blotch there. So, hardened leather. We are using that obviously on his feet to cover up these boots. Luckily it's a nice brown. It pops off the dark wood colour that I have used on the ground. And then we are also going to cut along his belt and little pouches that he has there. Such a fun model. I've been looking at him on my shelf for a while because I've wanted to paint him. But I wasn't sure if I was going to be brave enough to do it because he is such a little model. I felt like it'd be easy to make mistakes on. Turns out it was probably one of the easiest models I've painted. And I had so much fun doing it. I regret not painting him sooner now. Just gotta catch his pouches that he's got. There we go. And now we're on to the final colour after this. And it's going to be for the tankard. But I just want to make sure I get all the pouches in this belt. Carefully wrap round. Don't want to mess up this hand that's there. Quick check that I've not missed anything or left any white patches. Think we are good. And there we go, we're down to one colour and then the base. So the last colour is Gravelord Grey, and we're going to use that on the tankard. It seemed like the right colour. Normally I do metallics, or what should be metallics as runic grey, but I feared that was too light. It would look too bright for the tankard. This is his tankard that he takes to the bars and brings home. He's travelled around with it. This thing is bad, it's beaten up. It's probably been used in a battle or two. God knows when it was last properly washed, so I feel it'll be a darker beaten metal of some sort, or stone. So just giving that a good coat. There's not much else happening. Make sure I got all the white parts, and we should have a little finished Ukko. All that's left to do is the base and the rim. The rim will be Abaddon black to colour that in, and then I'm going to use Sandry dust to highlight the base. But I'll come back with some photos, and I hope you enjoyed. Give me a like, comment, subscribe, and let me know if you learned something or if I've inspired you to paint this little model. And as always, cheers for watching.